All right, welcome everyone to our final planetary workshop of 2021. Very happy to have everyone here. I'm going to let everybody take another couple seconds to get logged in for audio, and I'm going to share my screen. So just to help everyone this morning, we do have translation in Spanish with Mahajoy, and we have translation in Vietnamese with Sabota. So so we ask that each of you, it helps too with just when we make breakout rooms and people can understand what language we're speaking, please put your language acronym in front of your name. You can click on the three dots at the top right of your video and select rename. So for example, like my language is English, so I put EN in front of my name. For simultaneous interpretation, click on the globe icon, the interpretation button, then choose your language. And if you need help, you can send a private message to Karun, Ishita, or I, so we can help you. So again, we have it in English, Vietnamese, and Spanish today. All right, so today is our final planetary workshop of 2021, as I said earlier. We'll spend the first few minutes doing a welcome. Then we will have 8 minutes of chanting, which is going to be our Bhavanam Kevalam, followed by a short guided meditation. And then we are going to have a dynamic presentation on the hero's journey and a spiritual path. And then we'll have a little bit of closing and announcements. And that'll be our conclusion for the year. So very excited to have everybody here. Really excited to have Dada here presenting for our final workshop. I'm gonna skip over that. So here at PLT, we are an inclusive environment. We are an inclusive community. We have people from all walks of life globally, and we want everyone to always feel welcome and to just to feel comfortable. So I'm going to read this quote that we like to start our live workshops and our live events with, from Sri Sri Anandamurti. It is our duty to accelerate the speed of human progress. Your endless efforts to broaden and smoothen the path of human movement will render our present existence and your future history inestimable. So again, everyone's welcome. We're glad you're here. These workshops are open to the public. So, and we will be starting them back up next year. So we hope to keep seeing you at them. And on that note, I'm going to pass it back to Karun, and he's going to start us on our chanting meditation, which we're going to be using Bhavanam Kevalam, followed by a short silent meditation, and then we'll get on with the presentation. So
I'm going to sing this mantra, Baba Nam Kevalam. Many of you are familiar with this, but perhaps not all of you. And it means only the feeling of limitless love. So you can just sit straight and close your eyes, and my friend here is going to accompany me. And yeah, just sit straight and close your eyes, and we're just going to have a very short chanting and then silent meditation. Keep your eyes closed. Sit straight and breathe through your nose if you can comfortably. And let the mantra Baba Nam Kevalam continue in your mind with the music. And just focus on the idea behind that, this feeling of limitless love. And connect to the source of love within you. And we'll meditate on that silently for just a couple of minutes. Just take a deep breath. And you breathe out and relax, and you can open your eyes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the meditation. And I'm now going to invite Dada to start his presentation. Thank you, Dada, for joining us.
Thank you to everyone. Namaskar, my sisters and brothers, especially the ones from Vietnam. I was just talking with you a few minutes ago. I believe you can see the presentation, The Hero's Journey and the Spiritual Path.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
There is an ever-increasing mountain of new research about the benefits of meditation and yoga. There is a mountain of this research. So today, the majority of people in the world have a positive view about meditation and yoga. Not everybody, but 50 years ago when I was starting, only hippies and weirdos did yoga or meditation. So any of us with white hair, you can know we must have been one or the other. But I'd like to talk about something a little bit different than what the research is looking at. There's a very fierce mystery, and we don't talk about that very much on the spiritual path. This is a picture, of course, a symbolic picture of Shiva, the great yogi 7,000 years ago. And it shows him combining the masculine and the feminine in one person. This gentleman, Joseph Campbell, from the United States, was a very interesting person. He began by studying the stories of the Native American peoples, the indigenous peoples of North and South America. Then he started studying the stories of all cultures around the world. And he also started studying the religions around the world. He was very inspired by this Sanskrit phrase, Satchitananda, which means being, consciousness, and bliss. It comes from the Upanishads of India, the ancient texts of India. Joseph Campbell said, I'm not sure I can understand what being or consciousness really mean, but I can understand bliss. So he made the phrase, follow your bliss. He taught for many years at an all-women's college in the United States. And every year he told the seniors when they were going to graduate, whatever you do, do not do what your father wants you to do. Because your father wants your safety and your security. And if you trade your safety and security today, you'll never find your bliss. So you should follow your bliss. Joseph Campbell's most famous book was A Hero with 1,000 Faces, because he said that in every culture of the world, the story of the hero, male or female, is fundamental. And it's a mythical story. And it's kind of the same story in every different culture. This mythical journey, like that of Joan of Arc, for example, in France, they speak to us to ask, when will you do something heroic? And why not now? Joseph Campbell found 17 stages on the hero's journey. Now, every story doesn't have all 17 stages, but they all have at least some of them. Of those 17 stages, 12 of them, I think, are very clearly part of the spiritual journey. And that's what I'd like to talk about today, because this involves you. It's about your life and your journey. I'll talk about these one by one. At some point, in the story, the hero's journey, an ordinary person gets a call to adventure. Where does that ordinary person live? In the ordinary world. It might be a village in Africa. It might be a village in Japan 1,000 years ago. It might be New York City today. But wherever the story takes place, it's an ordinary world. And the boy or girl is invited for an adventure. I think this is the invitation to take initiation. Excuse me. In the past, initiation was very difficult in India. Today, in Ananda Marga, it's very easy. Basically, every acharya, every dada or deity, every spiritual teacher is invited to teach anyone who shows some sincere interest to learn. We kind of try to use our intuition to guess whether the person really wants to learn or not. But it's not hard, it's easy. Some people refuse that call. Personally, I never did. But I know lots of people who said, no, I'm not interested. And later, the next day, the next year, 10 years later, the call comes again. One friend said it kept coming like a 2x4 on the side of his head. Big hit on the side of his head. In the chat, I invite you to write whether or not you ever got the call to adventure and whether or not you ever refused it. The third stage on this spiritual journey is to meet a mentor. That mentor has to teach practical techniques that purify and strengthen us to face the tests and challenges ahead. That mentor could be anybody. I learned from a university student who inspired me to learn asanas and to learn meditation. But it could be anybody. And often it's more than one person. But Another question I had for you was, who was your mentor and how did they help you? Does my chat block the slide, or can you still see all the words clearly?
It's clear. Not
Okay,
blocking.
thank you, just checking, okay. Now, there are stories that defy logic. And this is where the hero leaves the ordinary world that he or she knows well to some mysterious world, magical world. In spirituality, we start hearing stories that defy logic, coincidences, mysterious cures of diseases or illnesses. We hear stories of past lives, the idea of reincarnation. Very strange in the West, though reincarnation is, of course, totally accepted in Hinduism and Buddhism and Jainism, all the Eastern religions. Stories of ecstasy, of bliss beyond understanding, of samadhi. And the idea that a higher consciousness is always present. When I learned meditation and yoga, I was told that a quote that said, "You are never alone or helpless. The force that guides the stars guides you too." Sounds sweet. I thought, is that even possible? An intelligence that's guiding the universe, the cosmos, the galaxies, knows that I am here and knows what the heck I'm doing and thinking. I mean, if any of that, any of these stories could be even a little bit true, then there's a whole world out there that I was totally unaware of. So the next stage is crossing the threshold, leaving the ordinary world for the spiritual, because of a very amazing call to try this thing. And it doesn't mean that you necessarily left your physical place, though many times you will, to go to a retreat, to go to a special training. But a call to try this spiritual journey full time for a while. My mother definitely said this: "Why can't you be happy with what you have here? You have it all. Why do you want to leave? You can do good work here in this town." Yes to all those questions, Mother, but I feel an urge to go, to try this spiritual world. And they mean very well, but one of the messages they're saying is that it's dangerous out there. Don't go. You leave this place that you know very well, you might die. Terrible things are out there. There are monsters out there. That's the risk, and that's the danger that we're called to. Another part of the spiritual journey is what is usually called ashes. And this is where the hero goes through a tough time, very humble work, sweeping, poverty. When I went to India to become a monk, there was no electricity in the training center. There was no running water. We had a well out back and we pulled up the buckets to take bath or to wash our clothes. There were no toilets even. It was very ecological. We fertilized the fields. But that experience I'm very grateful for. It's a very humbling experience doing very menial jobs. One night I noticed I had spent an hour getting water from another well for drinking that we thought might be a little bit better, and getting our kerosene lantern lit when there were no matches around. We had to go around getting another light from another. I spent an hour getting light and water, which would take 2 seconds in the United States where I came from. But it develops humility, empathy, and compassion. And it cuts your normal escape route. Not everybody goes through this part of the journey, but maybe you did. And more tests and dangers come. The literature of the world is rich because of these tests and dangers. The stories for thousands of years are about a hero facing tests and dangers. What are the tests and dangers? Well, they're different for everyone. They might be dragons. They might be enemies. And on the spiritual path, the tests and dangers are unique to each one of us because they're related to your samskaras, your reactive momenta. People are afraid of different things. Fear, according to biopsychology, is located in your third chakra, at your navel area. And fear is not an intellectual thing, it's an emotional thing. For 21 years, I worked in South America, in Brazil and Venezuela mostly, but I also traveled the other countries. For 21 years, my greatest fear was speaking Spanish and Portuguese in public. Every child can do it. I have a lot of difficulty learning foreign languages. It's my biggest mental block. I did it. I gave all my talks always in either Portuguese or Spanish, depending where I was. But that was a fear I had to face every day. Other people don't have that problem at all. Majoy is fluent, no problem. But me, that was mine. So like that, we have different tests and dangers. What are yours? They come in different forms, like I said. And for example, financial problems. Have you ever had financial problems? You ever had health problems? Have you ever encountered opposition? And here's a question for you again. What was the hardest test for you so far? I say so far because I don't think it'll be the last one. But up until now, what was the hardest test for you? And I invite you to type it into the chat if you're willing to share it. Calamities are opportunities for spiritual growth. We think that if you lose your money, if you lose your power, if you lose your job, if you lose a loved one, either they leave you or worse, they die. If you have a serious illness or accident, these are terrible things. And yet on the spiritual journey, they're also a wake-up call. They're an invitation to reconsider your life. To consider the spiritual path. So, looking at obstacles as your friend, that's what we're called to do on the spiritual journey, and it's not easy. I never said this was easy, but this is valuable. This is where your power comes from. To face the worst fears and go through them. One Dada Tapishwarananda, he was walking with Baba one time, Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, the spiritual founder. And he was troubled by organizational problems, a split that had taken place in the organization back in 1971. And Baba asked him, what is sadhana? What is meditation? And Dada thought, good Lord, I'm giving lectures about meditation every day for years. And Baba's asking me this silly question. He said he tried to answer something like peace of mind and it helps you concentrate. And Baba listened and he said, no. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4, no. And Baba explained something else. He said, to do any work successfully takes 3 things. You have to know how to do the work. If you're cutting wood, for example, you have to know how to use the axe properly, how to split the wood. You need the right tools. If you don't have a sharp axe, it won't work. And grace. He said for physical or mental work, like driving a car, for example, you need to know how to do it. You need a driver's license and need a car that runs. You don't really need grace. It's not necessary. But on the spiritual journey, grace is everything. Interesting analogy. Grace is everything on the spiritual journey. Another challenge that comes usually is meeting the god or goddess. And in literature, this is an interesting challenge for the hero. If the hero's a knight with a sword, he's really good with a sword, he can fight the demons off. When he meets the goddess, sword is useless. He has to, and the goddess is, or the god, is always perfect. How can the person be perfect? Well, if you have the eyes to see, everyone is perfect. So on the spiritual journey, I think this is discovering devotion and grace, finding the masculine and feminine inside you, because both are inside you. Once I heard a quote a long time ago during the women's liberation movement in the 60s, 70s. Someone said, the woman who most needs liberating is the woman inside every man. And the man who most needs liberating is the man inside every woman. It's not completely true, but it's a little bit true, I think. So when we do Kiirtan, we become childlike, not childish. We become carefree. And this is crucial. Because devotional love transforms pain into a path of flowers. Tantra yoga that I practice has traditionally been called the razor's edge. To me, it sounds horrible. Walking on a razor will cut your feet. And it's so easy to fall. My master said, yes, it's true. But with devotion, that becomes a path of flowers. I find this all the time. When I'm upset, when I'm clashed, if I sing Bhavanam Kevalam for 30 minutes, I can't stay clashed. It's impossible. My mind can't maintain two different feelings simultaneously. The problem doesn't disappear. I have to face it again after my meditation. But if I sing Bhavanam Kevalam for up to 30 minutes, I feel bliss. I feel peace. I'm happy. despite the worst problems in the world. And I really believe that suffering is a state of mind. I think you would agree with that too, because I think if you remember in your lifetime, you have been in situations where somebody else was freaking out, clearly experiencing hell in their mind, and you're not. You're right beside them in the same situation, and yet you're okay. You're peaceful. So that kind of understanding that no matter what comes at us, with love, it's okay. All right. All along the journey is the temptation to quit. Why do you want to go through all this hardship? Most people want pleasures and comforts in life. Why do people want money? Have a more pleasurable and comfortable life. A nice house, a bigger house, nice car, to go shopping and buy whatever I want. Really good food. That is what almost everybody wants. And yet spiritualists are a little bit weird. We want to please the Supreme. And sometimes that's different. Most of the time, that's different. Why do we do social service? Why do we help other people? You don't have to. But my life is so much better when I'm helping other people. When does temptation come? All the time. Come on, let's go shopping. Come on, let's go to the bar. We're gonna have a party. In the bar, they say, oh, just have a little drink of alcohol. It's not gonna kill you. Come on, just a little bit. Why not? It's not gonna kill you. Of course it's not. But it's also not gonna make the Supreme happy. And that's what I want to do. The best things in life aren't things. I like it. And learning this fact, I think, is a key to understanding the spiritual journey. All advertising tries to teach us that if you buy something, you'll be happy. I have a laptop. I use the laptop. It's not the source of my happiness. I don't sleep with the laptop at night. I don't sleep with anybody, actually. I'm a monk, but it's just a laptop, you know? I think that love is what brings happiness, not things. I think I've warned you, I'm kind of weird, okay? Another obstacle that comes on this journey, another stage, is to face death. In the Bible, it says one dies to the self to live in spirit. It's in the Christian Bible, the New Testament. What it means is that if you face death, life has new meaning. This is a photo from a village in Bali, Indonesia, Trunyan, where I went to spend the night. In that village of Bali, they do not cremate the bodies and they do not bury the bodies. They have what they call Kembali Mahapanchabhuta, which means to go back to the 5 fundamental factors. So when people die, they put their bodies outside in this little forest to go back to the 5 fundamental factors. And it was an inspiring place to do meditation that night. And when you face people who are survivors of cancer, for example, they say that one of the best things that came to them is the ability to say no. They don't have to agree with everybody. They don't have to agree to do everything that other people want them to do. They're much more willing to say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't have time. My life is short. I want to do the things I want to do, not what you want me to do. So facing death in one way or another, that's a serious one, because that is kind of the biggest fear we all have. And when you can face that, you're stronger for it. Now, in all the stories, there's some kind of treasure. Paulo Coelho is a famous Brazilian author, and he writes lots of spiritual books. So I read one, The Alchemist, and it was a nice story, a hero's journey story. And at the end, the young man dug up a chest of gold. That was his treasure. I was a little bit sad. I mean, it's a story, right? It's just a book. But a pot of gold is not what is the goal on the spiritual journey. Wisdom, non-attachment, intuition, those are the treasures that we experience on the spiritual journey. Ali from Egypt said, detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. He's a very wise mystic. So learning how to be unattached, how to be wise, and to listen to your intuition, that is a great treasure. And that will come to you, for sure, if you follow the spiritual journey. And then comes the return. And this poem by T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot. We should not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Why, when we go back to where we started, do we know the place for the first time? The place is the same as where we left it. What's different is us. We're different people. We have different eyes to see it. We see it differently. This is how, in the West, we view time. We're born, we have all these experiences, and finally we die. It's like a line, it's linear. On a spiritual journey, it's not like that. It's like a spiral. It's a circle, but you don't come back to exactly the same places where you left. You're different. And both in this lifetime and in different lifetimes, according to the theory of reincarnation, we're learning. We're changing. We're becoming different people. So, understanding the spiral and viewing time and the spiritual journey not like a line, but as a circle, and more than once. As in stories and myths, terrible things happen to people. But the story never ends there. Because whatever terrible losses have happened, the hero learns to go on. Carrying inside the terrible losses, the sadness, but stronger because of it. No, the grieving never ends. But that's okay. That's who you are. Then comes, you become the master of two worlds. The world you left behind and the spiritual world too. So you should be a hero and a mentor. Many of us have a tendency when we see great teachers, we think, well, only great teachers can do that. Or I'll do that when I'm bulletproof and perfect. The truth is, you'll never be bulletproof or perfect in this life, I think. And actually, superheroes, despite what the movies try to tell us, they're not what really inspires us. What inspires us is when ordinary people do extraordinary things. Didi Chittasmita is a family acharya on the left. Dada Chandranath is a family acharya in India on the right. Chittasmita lives in Vermont, United States. Chandranath has passed away now, but it's been my honor to know both of them and many others who are true true spiritualists and who inspire me a lot. So to be a hero and to be a mentor, that's the challenge. So I'd like to invite now that we can be in breakout rooms to discuss it. How to be a hero and how to be a mentor to others. How to prepare others for the spiritual journey. Because I think if we're only talking about the benefits of meditation and yoga, and the benefits are important, we're not preparing people for what's going to happen. What's going to happen when somebody starts? They're going to get clash. And even if we make everything as perfect as we can, they're still going to experience clash from outside or from inside them. Clash meaning physical and mental struggle. And the only way we can help them through that, because it's going to be different for every person, but we know it's going to come to everyone. We prepare them by helping them learn the practices that will make them stronger physically, mentally, and spiritually. By showing every person that you have potential, physical, mental, and spiritual, more than you can possibly imagine. So that you can actually face everything that comes at you and still be victorious because of grace. We're pleasing the Supreme. So this is my presentation. I invite us now to go into breakout rooms and you can discuss if any of this has happened to you and what it's like for you. And if you think this has value to help other people.
Vietnamese one group would like to share. How would you like to do that, Subodh? Should I turn off your translation so you can? Okay, I believe Subodh we can now hear Subodh. Is that correct?
Yes, Namaskar. In our group, we have some 6 or 7 people, and one talks about the difficulties and challenges facing uh, when for him or herself in the mundane world, and also in helping others.
Mm-hmm.
And when the difficulty comes, she meditates, and for any reason, for some reason she doesn't know, there are solutions.
Mm.
And also one sister says that she faced difficulties with families, for example, in the following the vegetarian diet. At first, she encountered the opposition, very strong opposition from families, but over time, that habit, that become habitual for her. She feel it helps her to do better meditation and also to feel more peace in her life together with meditation. And this influenced her family, especially her children. And it first is a difficulty, opposition, then it becomes influence in her life. Yeah. These are the 2 main points.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, can you share for the Spanish group, Mahajoy?
Okay. Yes. So, namaskar, everyone. I will share for the Spanish group. We pretty much talked about how sometimes there were forces outside of ourselves that were made it hard to keep going, whether that be some people we care about or friends who were scared about, you know, or didn't approve of going on a meditation or spiritual journey in that way, especially when it came to Catholicism and also just people not understanding or not valuing what we were doing. So that was hard, but it seemed like everyone found their way. Some people do poetry and try to share and bring other people along by doing that, or just setting an example, going on a trip. One person talked about going on a trip and then afterwards feeling renewed, like it just happened that way. And just getting connected to yourself and trying not to get swept away by the negative things. It's hard. So then we talked about it's important to be with people who understand you and try to support you, and then try not to let it sweep you aside. And then some people talked about just very difficult times that they went through, and having a spiritual path all along. There's someone who was Buddhist and like started off as Christian, then went Buddhist, and then it went to Ananda Marga, and there was always a thread of a teacher somewhere that could help. So that was pretty much what our group talked about.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now that I've learned how, I will put you back to Spanish translation.
Okay.
Okay. How about one of the primarily English speakers who would like to share?
And it was, people talk, but no great conclusions.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Okay. Well, how shall we move on?
I'll take it over. Yeah. Thank you, Karun. Thank you, Dada. Thank you, everyone. It's a very inspiring, thought-provoking presentation, Dada. Just really, it's a great way to end our planetary workshops for 2021. I mean, just a beautiful way to conclude. And before I go on to announcements, I just we started traditionally started doing kind of our waterfall. So what I'd like everybody to do is to type in just 2 words that they're feeling right now, maybe something from the presentation, maybe something that you wanted to share, or you did share in the breakout session, just 2 words of how you're feeling right now into the chat, but don't push enter, and we'll push enter all at the same time. So it kind of produces a waterfall. So give everybody about, 30 seconds to a minute or so. So don't push enter yet. Just 2 words. All right. So we'll push enter on 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. So we've got inspired, renewed, grateful, love, inspired, ready, comforting, inspiring, love, gratitude, thanks so much, bliss and courage, inspired, love, even small heroes are important. I think that one's really great, Karun. Thank you. So thank you, Dada, and thank you everyone for being here. Just to conclude our morning, I just want to share my screen and make a quick few announcements. We made this announcement, I believe, last week, and we talked a little bit about planetary meditation. So starting next year, we just launched a new course that the registration is now open, and it's 99 days to transform your world. And I kind of like what Dada talked about. You are the hero of this story, the hero of your life. And we just, PLT, and with the support of many others and the support of many beyond us, we just want to help guide you through your hero story. So through meditation, yoga, and living with purpose, starting January 22nd, you can go to our landing page on Mighty Networks, and we'll be sending out more materials about this, but please take an opportunity, check it out. I think it's going to be a very worthwhile course, and it is open to everyone. It's open to the public, and we will have live translation on Saturdays, but it's an interactive course, pretty much 7 days a week, to really guide you to make some real life changes. So we hope to see a lot of you there. And I am going to stop share that. And before we say goodbye, we will be back in January. We will have planetary meditation January 8th. And then our next workshop will be scheduled for January 30th. So we are going to take off 2 weeks of any kind of events over the weekend. And then we will start back, I said, like on January 8th with planetary meditation. The course starts January 22nd, and we'll have our next workshop January 30th. So we appreciate all of you guys coming, and just it's beautiful to see all of you here from all over the globe. We thank Dada so much. We thank Karun, we thank Subodh, and we thank Mahajoy for doing the interpretation. It makes this all possible. So on that note, I just say goodbye. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time in the world it is for you. And namaskar.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next year.